August 2nd, 1976, Fort Worth, Texas. It was a night that would be etched into the memories of those who lived through it. The city, usually bustling with life, seemed eerily quiet, as if it sensed the impending doom. The air hung heavy with humidity, making it difficult to breathe. The oppressive atmosphere seemed to press down on everything, creating a sense of foreboding that was impossible to ignore. Inside the mansion at 4500 Mockingbird Lane, darkness had fallen. The grand rooms, usually filled with light and laughter, were now shrouded in shadows, adding to the sense of unease.
We returned home from a night out, Priscilla and I, to a scene ripped from a horror movie. The front door was ajar and an eerie silence greeted us as we stepped inside.
The mansion, a sprawling testament to wealth and privilege, was in disarray. Furniture was overturned, lights were shattered. It was as if a violent storm had swept through, leaving chaos in its wake. An unsettling silence hung in the air, punctuated by the distant hum of the central air system. The usual comforting sounds of home were replaced by an eerie stillness.
Fear, cold and sharp, gripped us both. Something was terribly wrong. The kind of fear that chills you to the bone, making every hair on your body stand on end.
They made their way through the house, each step filled with dread. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow seemed to hide a new terror. Then they found her. Andrea, Priscilla's 12-year-old daughter, lay lifeless on the floor of the laundry room. The sight was heart-wrenching, a scene of pure horror. Her innocence had been stolen, her life extinguished by an act of unimaginable cruelty. The broken doll beside her seemed to mock the shattered innocence of the scene.
Panic set in. The kind of panic that makes your heart race and your mind go blank. We were trapped in a nightmare. The phone line was dead. Our last hope of calling for help was gone, leaving us isolated and vulnerable. We had stumbled into a nightmare and there was no escape. The darkness seemed to close in around us, suffocating and relentless.
The police arrived to a scene of chaos. The once serene and luxurious mansion was now a hub of frantic activity, with officers and detectives swarming the area, trying to piece together the events of the night. The sprawling mansion, once a symbol of affluence, was now a crime scene. The grandeur of the estate stood in stark contrast to the grim reality that had unfolded within its walls. 2 bodies lay inside, victims of a brutal and seemingly senseless attack. 12-year-old Andrea Wilborn, her life tragically cut short, and Stan Farr, the former basketball player, gunned down in the master bedroom. The air was thick with the weight of loss and unanswered questions. Stan Farr, once a celebrated athlete, now a tragic figure in a harrowing tale. His legacy, once defined by his prowess on the court, was now overshadowed by the violence that claimed his life.
Traumatized but alive, I told a harrowing tale. My voice trembled as I recounted the events, each detail more horrifying than the last. The detectives listened intently, their faces a mix of concern and determination. A figure clad in black, a woman, had emerged from the darkness. Shots rang out, echoing through the halls of the mansion. I fought back, wrestling with the intruder before escaping into the night to find help. The memory of that struggle was etched into my mind, a constant reminder of the terror I had faced. I fought back, wrestling with the intruder before escaping into the night to find help. The memory of that struggle was etched into my mind, a constant reminder of the terror I had faced.
Her story was chilling, her survival improbable. The sheer will and determination she displayed in the face of such danger was nothing short of remarkable. But who was this mysterious intruder? The figure in black remained an enigma, a shadowy presence that haunted the investigation. And what was the motive behind this horrific act? The investigation began immediately, a frantic search for answers in the opulent ruins of a shattered family. Detectives combed through every piece of evidence, hoping to uncover a clue that would lead them to the perpetrator. The eyes of the nation turned to Fort Worth, captivated by the mystery at 4500 Mockingbird Lane. The story gripped the public's imagination, with everyone eager to learn the truth behind the tragedy. Who could have committed such a heinous crime? The list of suspects grew, each new lead bringing more questions than answers. And could Priscilla's terrifying account lead them to the killer? The pressure was on to solve the case, to bring justice to the victims and peace to a community left in shock.
Breaking news.
Priscilla, a former beauty queen, possessed a captivating charm. Cullen Davis, a titan of the oil industry, exuded wealth and power. Their union was a whirlwind of extravagant parties, lavish gifts, and whispers of a fairy tale romance.
But beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life, there lay a current of dysfunction.
Cullen, heir to a vast oil fortune, was accustomed to getting what he wanted. His temper was legendary, his need for control absolute.
Priscilla, beautiful and vivacious, refused to be just another possession.
Their clashes were epic, fueled by money, infidelity, and a battle for dominance. The Davis marriage, once the envy of Fort Worth society, began to crumble. Infidelity ran rampant. Arguments escalated, fueled by alcohol and resentment. The divorce, when it finally came, was acrimonious, a very public battle over money and power.
I felt entitled to everything, unwilling to share my fortune.
Cullen, used to getting his way, bristled at the financial settlement.
Determined to secure my future and the future of my children, I fought back with equal ferocity.
The stage was set for a tragedy. Their once passionate love had curdled into a toxic brew of hatred and revenge. The finger of suspicion quickly pointed to Cullen Davis.
The motive was clear: revenge against Priscilla, a desire to regain control.
But proving his guilt was another matter entirely.
The prosecution built their case on circumstantial evidence.
They highlighted Cullen's volatile temper, his history of violence, and his access to a vast fortune that could buy silence.
The defense, led by the renowned Richard Racehorse Haynes, painted a different picture.
They attacked Priscilla's credibility, portraying her as an unreliable witness with a motive to frame her ex-husband.
The trial became a media sensation, a clash of titans played out on the national stage. Section 6, Verdicts and Controversy. The first trial, focused on the murder of Andrea, ended in a hung jury. The nation held its breath. Could a man as wealthy and powerful as Cullen Davis escape justice?
The second trial, this time for the murder of Stan Farr, resulted in a shocking acquittal.
The verdict sent shockwaves through Texas and beyond. Had justice been served, or had wealth and influence tipped the scales? The public was divided, some convinced of Cullen's guilt, others believing he was a victim of his own wealth and a vengeful ex-wife. Section 7, Scars of a Tragedy. For Priscilla, the trials were a painful ordeal, a public reliving of her worst nightmare. She had lost her daughter, her lover, and her sense of security.
The verdicts, while delivering a measure of closure, did little to heal the wounds of that horrific night. I retreated from the public eye, seeking solace in the quiet anonymity of a new life.
The scars of the tragedy, both physical and emotional, remained. They were a constant reminder of the night her life was irrevocably shattered. Section 8, Lingering Shadows. The shadow of the Cullen Davis case stretched far beyond the courtroom walls. It cast a pall over Fort Worth, a stark reminder that even in the heart of Texas, wealth and privilege could buy influence.
It ignited a debate about justice, about whether the system treated the rich and powerful differently than the rest of us.
The case became a cautionary tale, a reminder that even in the most idyllic of settings, darkness could lurk beneath the surface. It challenged the very notion of truth, leaving behind more questions than answers. Section 9. The Davis Legacy. Years have passed since that fateful night in August 1976. The world has moved on, but the echoes of that evening still resonate in the hearts and minds of those who were there. The Davis family, once a symbol of prosperity and influence, has seen its fortunes wane over the decades. The mansion at 4500 Mockingbird Lane has long since been sold, its tragic past fading into local lore. The grand halls that once hosted lavish parties now stand silent, their opulence a distant memory. The new owners, unaware of the mansion's dark history, have tried to breathe new life into its aging walls.
My fortune diminished. I lived out my days far from the spotlight that once shone so brightly upon me. The wealth and power that once defined my existence have slipped through my fingers like sand. In my modest home, I find solace in the simple things, far removed from the grandeur of my past.
But the legacy of the case endures. The headlines that once screamed of scandal and betrayal are now yellowed with age, but the story they tell remains as potent as ever. The photographs of my family, once symbols of unity and strength, now serve as reminders of what was lost.
It remains a haunting reminder of the fragility of life, the corrosive nature of wealth, and the elusive nature of justice. The courtroom, once a battleground for truth and lies, now stands empty, a silent witness to the passage of time. The luxury items, once coveted, now gather dust, their luster faded.
And for those whose lives were forever changed that night, the memories linger, a constant ache in the quiet corners of their hearts. The pain of loss and the weight of regret are ever present, a testament to the enduring impact of that fateful evening. The Davis legacy, though tarnished, continues to cast a long shadow over those who remember.